Hi, everybody. Well, good data morning to you all. And I know you might be wondering, isn't it evening for you guys? And it kind of is. It is 5:30, but we have a special guest with us today, Nigel, who's going to talk to us about data strategy, and he's in Australia. So it's kind of morning over there. It's 10:30 in the morning. So good data morning, everybody from wherever you are watching. And you know what? Do let us know, where are you from? What time it is? I'm really curious, really, what time is it over there? So let us know. Yes, so Nigel will join us shortly, and he'll talk to us about data strategy.
Nigel is a managing director and principal consultant with Strategic Architects. And I was blown away by Nigel's very vast and diverse experience. So he has over 17 years experience in a position of director, manager, or chief data architect, and over 25 years experience in a variety of fields, such as housing, public works, including racing, mining, water, pharmacy, health, local government, and financial institutions. I'm actually very much looking forward to talking to Nigel. This is my first time meeting Nigel, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Let's bring him on live here.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, Diana. First time meeting you.
Nigel, can you please tell me how I pronounce your last name? We were arguing that it's a German name and it's pronounced Schmalkuche, but how do you pronounce it?
Yeah, that's how we pronounce it in Australia, and it's got a nice French influence to it, I think, Schmalkuche. But apparently the correct pronunciation is Schmalkuche.
Very nice.
German. Yes.
Very nice. Well, again, welcome on the show. You know, we do have people that have joining in from everywhere. We already have people that are from down under, as they're introducing themselves. But of course, kind of like the usual, from all over the world, from Mexico. Hi, Raul. We have Pedro, the data ninja, joining in from the East Coast, and we have quite a few of those. And thank you so much for coming and joining us. It's going to be a pleasure to engage with you on the show. And do let us know, as we're going to talk about data strategies, if there's something in particular that you would like us to cover with Nigel. Nigel is definitely quite the expert here, and I don't want to put you on the spot. But just, let us know. Why don't you let us know first if you do have a data strategy, as we are having this wonderful chat and learning from Nigel.
Maybe we can say about the t-shirts.
Oh, yes. Thank you. So thank you so much, Nigel, for this wonderful gift. So hold on. I got to, showcase it individually. This is one of my favorites. The Talk Data to Me. How awesome is this?
Yeah. I need to show mine because this is my favorite one. It's the
AI Friday.
Woohoo!
Yes.
But Nigel, how much credit do you need to take for this? From my understanding, it's really your wife that's really the artist and the creator of these shirts.
Yes, exactly. So my wife does a range of shirts, and she was quite kind to put them together. So she does the designs and everything else. It took a little while to get to you, George, didn't it?
Yeah, I did. I think it's the whole COVID thing. It's sort of delaying some of these deliverables, but deliveries. But so happy to have it now, and it's so comfy and nice to wear. It has such a nice soft feeling on your skin. Plus, I love that message that's on it. So I encourage everybody to try and get in touch with you and see how they can get their hands on one of these shirts. I know you can probably purchase them already in Australia, right? And they're going to become international.
That's exactly right. So the AI Friday one for Diana, that's what we try to do on a Friday. So we've got something cooked up for the next one that's COVID related, AI related, at a hospital. So tune in for that coming up.
Yeah, and Pedro's recommending put your data shirt on, people. That's definitely what they're meant to do.
Yes. I love your range of shirts, George. Well, they're really good.
Well, I appreciate it. It's something for fun, right? No really profit is coming out of that, but have a little bit of an artistic side that I had to have an outlet for it. So
Mm.
anyhow,
Excellent.
data strategies, that's what we're here to talk to you about and really learn from. So where do you want to start? Where do you start with a data strategy? What's really that first step?
Yeah, quite often I'm asked to come in and do a data strategy, and that might be to interpret what's in the digital strategy and the ICT strategy, in the business strategies, and align it to that. But it's been amazing the different reasons to come in. Sometimes there's a lot of initiatives going on like IoT, RPA, and all these initiatives, but they don't have any central theme. They don't have the ability to do, say, your data governance. They don't have the ability to automate what fun things that they've got going. And if you can come in there and actually achieve a data strategy. So essentially a data strategy is around getting together the collection and the organisation and presentation of data through the organisation, really harnessing the potential of data that you need. So the big data is a valuable source in organisations, and sometimes it's only collected for one specific purpose, and they're not sharing that data for the rest of the community. So
Right.
yeah, it's been interesting, and sometimes I've been asked, well, why are you doing a data strategy? We don't have money for that. And the thing is, the strategy is the catalyst to say why we need it, why we need to invest in it, and that's the reason you need the strategy, to bring things together for the common good.
And it's quite a return on investment, I would assume. I mean, the whole idea is that out of this data, with the help of the data strategy, you can find out and determine how can you draw efficiencies, how can you better reach your customers, how can you better understand their needs and provide better services and so forth and so on. So ultimately, right, the data strategy is there to help the organization meet or surpass its goals.
Yeah, exactly. So the data strategy needs to be in place to be able to do that and bring it to their importance. But quite often there's a view across the organisation. It depends if they're in finance or in procurement, in the operational area. Everyone has a different view about it. So when I go in there and talk to people, say if I'm talking to the financial person, it's all about the return on their investment and whether we can do that for that. So if you talk in their language, quite often in the finance and procurement these days is around the robotic process automation, getting those low value tasks automated so that they can do the high business value tasks and reach the customers better. So that value stream could be a good way to talk to executives and say, well, these are the 5 steps, those sort of things. You talk to the executive about, okay, we've got to collect the data, present the data, we've analyze the data, present the data, and then gain insight and then act on that insight. And I quite often draw that. This is the reason I said it 3, George, because I quite often draw that on the whiteboard. Sometimes you've only got like 5 minutes or something with a chief executive, and they can understand that. It's not just about getting connection to an IoT device. It's actually about a whole process to get it throughout the organisation.
Oh, absolutely. And do you find that, one of these steps, if you will, would maybe merit more importance, more resources than another?
Yeah, I think quite often we get stuck in that analysing the data, because say if you've got a number of individuals working, they could be data scientists, analysts, they do a lot of cleansing and analysing the data to present it, say, through Power BI, Tableau, ClickView, those sort of things, to present that data, but they're not actually automating it from the beginning to the end. So actually gaining those insights and then acting on those insights, you can't really get to that stage unless you do the foundational work. And one of the important things is around having the data owners, the custodians, and the stewards to be able to push that through to get to the act on that insight.
Right. And I want to bring a comment up here that we can both address. And Pedro is mentioning that he tends to start with defining not tense, but always start with defining the business outcomes desired in a data strategy. Do you have any thoughts on that? Is that something that you first talk with executives? What are they trying to get out of it? How do you tie it to the business outcomes first, and then see how this data strategy can help? Or is it more on, well, let's see what data you have and what information we can draw out of it and create a strategy around that based on really what that collection analysis piece outputs?
Yeah, and I think I've sent through as well an example data strategy. So the outcomes are the key things. So when I go into an organisation, I'll have a look at, say, the people strategy, the ICT strategy, digital strategy, all the business strategies first. Look at what their outcomes are. Say Jeff Bezos, for instance, he said that we're all about, and this is an AI conference, he said we're all about getting the product to the customer fast and efficiently at the lowest price. And that was his address at the AI conference. He wasn't talking about, okay, we've got this robotic process automation in one of our fulfillment centers. He started off with, we need to satisfy the customer's demands first. So the outcomes, yeah, it's dead right. The outcomes are the key things to go with. I think the value stream, though, is more around showing those processes that it's not a quick fix. It's not something that you can get done straight away. It takes an effort to get through there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I am curious. I come from the business side, so I'm not a data person. So to me, maybe the outcomes are the first thing that I would want to look into. And I wanted to ask you, based on your vast experience, if you can think of an example or a client of yours that had amazing outcomes, that was really a really successful project that really changed the business thanks to the strategic architecture. Can you share with us this example? And of course, you don't need to give any names. It's just that I would like to see what this can do for an organization.
Yeah, Diana, I've got a lot of experience, but I learn every day. I learn every day from people. I look at George's videos, for instance, and I learn something new. So yeah, I always take when I talk to people, I try to find out their concerns first and what they are. So from the business angle, quite often they can talk around what they need and then come back to me. So for instance, in the council, there was data on trees, there was data on potholes, there was data on whether the bins were there or not, there was data on driveways and all that sort of information. But it was all collected independently into an ERP system, and they weren't able to access the data for 4 to 6 weeks, and they weren't actually able to view other data. So like trees, they weren't able to view the weather data and events and all that other information. So what I was able to do was come in there and do the data strategy and then get a collective process happening of updating the people, process, information and technology. And not only that, I was able to get a community of practice going. And then people were able to come in and say, look, this is what we've done. We've actually worked out with our trees that we worked out the height. It's not going to need to touch the wires. And another example was actually taking the CCTV from the rubbish trucks, and they drive around. They pick up bins every day. They have data that if you operationalize that data can solve a host of issues in the one way, instead of just having the normal, the customer rings up, my tree is touching the power lines, can you fix it? It's more operational that we could actually do things in advance. So that takes a little while. CCTV needs to be collected. The AI needs to have the image recognition in place. Funny story actually, that our waste bins look like American post office boxes, basically. So when it was taken into the AWS recognition tool, up the post office box. So we had to get around that and get the machine learning algorithms from another council, and away we went. But yeah, it's a process, but that only came about through that community of practice. Business people talking about real business problems together. So yeah, so Diana, I really, really do talk to the business and find out what they need first. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what Pedro was saying as well. That hey, that you do shout from the rooftop, outcomes first for sure. Also want to mention that Greg here is saying that the data strategy will help you identify the right type of data sets you need for a particular outcome or priority. And these days we have way too much data. That's true. That we know what to do with. So a strategy definitely helps clarify and focus. So thank you, Greg, for that comment.
And to me, this
yes.
also means that you cannot have the same strategy for each company. And this is where you come in, right? So you adapt the strategy to the company's needs.
Yeah, that's. I was so sorry to jump in there, but I was doing a data strategy workshop down in Sydney, and one of the students said, "Oh, that's your strategy." I showed that example one that I have, and he said, "Oh, great! I can just implement that strategy in my organisation. Brilliant! Just change the title." And I said, well, "You can't actually do that because a data strategy is different for every organisation. I've got a template and everything." But the outcomes are different, the purposes are different, the vision will be different, and the industry's quite often different. One of the things, though, I've moved away from is instead of being data-driven, being insights-driven. And that's where I talk about that data insights triangle that actually go from the insights down. So go from what do you want to achieve, what do you want to get out of it, down to the data. Sometimes the data scientists can come up with something different. You know, we might be trying to investigate one problem and they come up with something different, and that exposes perhaps new markets or customer niches, which is great. But generally, if you get insights driven, it gives you that purpose. You know, why are we investing in a big data cloud warehouse and data lake and data sandpit and getting all that in place? Usually it's because we've got a reason. We've got these great quick wins and use cases. I was listening to a video, Bernard Marr yesterday, where he said that the use cases are important to have quick win use cases, and also to have foundational elements like data governance and master data management, getting the capability uplift, the communities of practice, getting all that in place as well. But there's also the quick wins. You've got to have those quick wins because otherwise, these days, you need to be doing things fast. For instance, with the COVID-19, there was a number of quick wins that we could get. Just, for instance, like on the signatures, there was still paper-based signatures in the workplace I was in, and people say, "Well, we can't do that." So immediately we changed the policy and we had digital signatures. We were able to have our meetings via Teams, via Zoom, and I was able to run some workshops via Miro and Mural, and everyone just quickly changed. So we were able to do those quick wins, but because we had a strategy, we were still able to align those to the strategic objectives. We weren't doing things like buying licenses for infrastructure to work remotely, for instance. We went to the cloud. We were able to invest in that.
Mm-hmm. I read on your website that you created some strategies for companies to deal with the COVID situation, and I think this was a very fast response. Can you just share a little bit about maybe some tips or some practical insights that you got from there?
Yeah. So that strategy, it was the digital workplace strategy, and it had in there the platforms. It had a data insights platform. It had an integration platform. It had also a collaboration and innovation. So developed the strategy, but quickly it was crazy times with COVID-19. I don't know how you guys, you're still working from home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went in the other day. There was a 5% utilisation of some of the buildings in town, and there's no restrictions now in Brisbane. It's getting very smaller, so it's quite amazing. So I was able to build that strategy, but then run workshops to say, okay, what does that mean to you? What can we do now? And that was about, one of the people said, "Oh, I'm a prisoner to my desktop device that's in
That's
in
true.
the so what can we do about that? Can we do straight away? And particularly in the data area, it was found that a lot of data is still based in being sent around in emails, being sent
Mhm.
around in paper-based process, and
A lot
that
of
had to change.
unstructured.
Yeah, a lot of unstructured data. So
So,
yeah.
so this is why COVID, at least from this perspective, is an opportunity. It
Mm,
really speeds up the process of digitalization, right?
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think,
digital transformation has occurred because of COVID, and it's been a tremendous lot of suffering around the world. But that has been one thing that team leaders have had to spend, say, 1 to 2 weeks to bring some people up on
yeah,
board. How to use your teams, how to use Planner, how to use some of the data visualization information, some of the analytics information that you can have on where you spend your time, how you can better use your time has been great. So that's been one blessing in disguise, I suppose.
yeah. And
Mm.
Nigel, we have a couple of questions coming that I do want to, well, quite a few more than a couple. There's
Yeah.
sort of pouring here, but I do want to address a couple of them. And one kind of ties in with what you said, the fact that you kind of had to act fast on this data strategy for digitalization. And Greg is asking if, would you say that there are two types of data strategies today? Immediate term and
Mm.
long-term strategy, the address the tactical burning issues in bay and aligning them to a strategic plan,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
So
for sure. Yeah, yeah. So what I do is I have horizons based. So
mhm,
the horizon can be like 3 to 6 months. What are the burning issues that need to be done? And I was mentioning I had a couple of workshops that identified those and was able to bring that in. I was quickly able to do a video that identified some of those issues and got the message out fast. So a data strategy doesn't necessarily mean it's a document. Sometimes it can be a video, can be information, can be digital working, how to do that. So one of the key things was to eliminate paper. That
mhm,
was a key quick win,
absolutely.
and yeah, and that effectively was done quite well. One of the problem areas was data integration. Data integration wasn't an issue that could be solved straight away. So some of the data decisions were being made by developers rather than the data owners. So bringing that in place, it's going to take like 6 months to actually get that embedded into but that's part of the strategy as well.
Absolutely.
Some of the things down the 2 to 3 year bracket was to go towards citizen integration, to actually have all of the real-time data, the IoT devices, to be able to have that real-time data available in dashboards, and to actually have the dashboards to be able to act on the insight. So dashboards come up, and there's actually automatic actions from that dashboard. So things are solved straight away. Yeah,
Absolutely.
eliminate good stuff, Scott.
Yeah, Scott, we,
Excellent.
we all agree, eliminate paper, really all kinds. Unless they're books. I do enjoy reading a book physically than on a Kindle device, to be honest.
And to
But,
smell it too.
right. That, yeah, the smell
Yes.
of old books. I do want to cover a couple other things. I do want to give it a time to also walk us through a data strategy example. But first, I want to tell you just one quick story that you're reminding me of as you're talking about this open data coming from the council, from the city. And there's
Mm.
quite a few open data happening all around the world, mainly in cities or at governmental level. And there's definitely quite a few in North America in particular, but obviously in Australia, UK, and so forth. And I was reading, I think I was listening to one podcast, and this one person, it was a North American city where that was collecting all this bunch of data on their city, like you said, even where certain trees were planted and what was there, years of, since they were planted, and all the bike lane paths and where you could rent bikes from and where they had water fountains, a bunch of stuff, right? But like you mentioned, it was all in silos. And this one guy who kind of moved into the city, just a few months before, he found out that it's all this data, and he was thinking, how can I use it to make friends quicker? And he was basically able to look at where could he get bike rentals from, what are those most frequented bike paths, where were the all the benches located, and some of the bigger trees, because he figured, well, that's where shade will be happening the most, and people will have a pit stop and rest on the bench, and he would have a higher chance there as an avid biker himself to go there, rest, and interact with people that would share at least one of his interests. And apparently that's how he started making friends in that city, really using all this dispersive data from the city on open data. So I thought it was quite a data strategy that he was applying there.
Yeah, that's a brilliant story. One of the other features is there's a lot of smart lighting, for instance, in some of the cities in Australia, and they've actually found that the smart lighting, so it comes on if at night when you're in that area. They've found that to reduce crime a lot more than the CCTV that records people, so that can record crime. So that's fine for when you're taking them to court, etc. But the actual smart lighting actually reduced the crime happening because the dark places in the city were where it was happening. So there's a lot of good data out there, and that was only discovered once that was put in place. Tremendous that
very happened. Interesting. Yeah. I love these stories. They're really motivational too.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Like all these reasons why people and organizations need to invest in data strategies. And speaking of which, it would be great if you can walk us through this, one sort of template, which is kind of like a starting point, I would assume, but it does cover, it has all the necessary pieces in place.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm trying to sort of identify there is the top section is actually not the data strategy. That's how we're linking to it. So for instance, in this example, so we're serving our customers through a selection, price and convenience, being customer-centric and having that mission and vision up there. Then we look at the major 4 strategies. So say if I'm meeting with the HR, the head of HR, I'll get that people strategy out and find what's in there. And it's quite amazing that the people strategy these days, it deals a lot with data, it deals a lot with IT, it deals about helping people. How can we do that? And one of the key things, for instance, in this one, I found out around the data culture. They wanted to, in the people strategy, they talked about decision making, having better decisions, being able to use information, having evidence-based. So what I've tried to do there is try to align it straight down. And there's a whole lot underneath this, but the data culture, that building that capability of enablement, self-service capability, having the data sets available for self-service. So that's a great starting point, and it's different for every organisation, but a great starting point to go to those senior leaders and start to talk. So for instance, you could have a financial strategy in there as well, and how that relates, and that would be more around the automation probably. So if you look at it from top to bottom, that's just got the section around the corporate strategies, and then you always have a vision in there with the data strategy. And I'm saying become an insights-driven organisation, and that'll give you the innovation and the intelligent decisions. So the innovation is key to looking at that data, getting the value from that data, perhaps monetising from that data. And then you can, the blueprint that I produce would harness the potential of the data. It's always key to talk about benefits as well. Yeah. So always have that straight away to talk about benefits, how this is going to achieve, because putting a data strategy in place could be an expensive process, but it comes in over time, quick wins first, and then longer term gains.
And yes, Scott, no worries. We'll definitely make this available through Nigel, and it will be part of this video as well. I'll do my best to share it if I'm allowed to, Nigel, as well. And Scott had another great question. There are actually there are too many questions that we're not able to keep up with, but he was asking really what level what C-level support do you have or do you need for a data strategy in order to take place and be supported?
Well, preferably all C-level support,
Right.
but the usual process would be that I've had in the past is talking to the CIO or CDO. CDOs are very much more client focused, and the CIO is more technology focused. But what I'm finding is there isn't the sufficient budget in the IT area to do a data strategy. And it's more about the business. So it's more about seeing those business leaders that really can drive it, because they see the value. There's the underswell. They need the data faster. Quite often they're getting data like 4 to 6 weeks old, and they can't use that data, and they're provided with outdated reports, dashboards, etc. So yeah, preferably all the C level, but there's usually a sponsor that you can get behind that can take it further. And I'm a big believer of communities of practice, communities of excellence, and getting it out there and having a lot of the organisation coming along.
Right, and get that involvement and participation.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer the questions offline as well if you want, George. So.
Oh, that would be great. Yes, I'll definitely send you the link, and you'll be able to see all the threads in there, so you can reply to them as you wish. And definitely, I encourage everybody to get in touch with Nigel and just add him on LinkedIn, and he'll be more than happy to share information and share his knowledge. And he's definitely a great contact to have. Nevertheless, he's always contributing with great content too. So definitely encourage you to that. Now, we're a little bit over time. I do want to tackle this one question, if possible. For some reason, your name is not showing up, LinkedIn user. But a question for you, Nigel. Likely you'll capture the strategy and plan at the same time, but do you capture them together in the same document, or do you keep them separate, and why would that be?
Good question.
Well, the last strategy I did, I had 4 or 5 documents, for a detailed document and also different displays, and I mentioned a video. But the planning is very important, and I usually do that the stage after. So strategy, plan, design, around the implement, orchestrate, and then improve. So that's the general thing. So the plan is pretty important as well. And in that planning, I usually do the business case, which has the financial information. What does this cost? So definitely the strategy first, and then the planning after, because you need to get that high level agreement. You need to get the on the board through the company, through the organisation. Get some of their statements from workshops. Get that in the strategy as well, so people can say, I put that in that strategy.
Absolutely. And as I mentioned, some of the comments we're seeing them coming late, and Mark Eric also agrees that you do need that executive support, and that kind of goes with any strategy and program that one wants to establish or put in place. So yes, absolutely. So glad that people agree.
Yeah, that's great.
Nigel, as we're coming close to a start, tell us just a little bit about your books, please.
The start of the end.
The start of the end, yes.
yeah. So yeah, a couple of books, Data to Insight. I've got that here. So that's really more of a it's more of a technical book, and it goes through the layers: data, information, knowledge, understanding, insight, and then looks at the actions, the insights. And the AI and data strategy is more at that higher level for more like executives or architects to look at how can we best utilize a strategy. And I actually get quite in depth into the culture side of things, because what I've found is without a data culture that supports the strategy won't be executed. So.
And by the way, I do want to mention, full disclosure, that's the book I also have, and I recommend it warmly to everybody that wants to learn more on AI and data strategy. It's really a great read. So thank you so much for that. And yes, awesome presentation. Well, we're happy that really you all drew something out of it, and we're very glad and honored to have had Nigel on the show. and share all these insights and knowledge with us. I know you have a lot more, and I think we can go on for a few hours, a few good hours. There will probably be a good webinar that will come out of this. But I think we do need to come to a close. And I do want to thank you again, Nigel, for your time, for your knowledge, for your sharing. And yes, again, do get in touch with Nigel. Just contact him on LinkedIn and he'll be more than happy to share these things. And again, I will also post it on YouTube, probably tomorrow or in the following days for sure. So you will see a recording there too.
Yeah, very, very honoured to be on your show, George and Diana. So thank you.
And thank you everyone who joined and for all your wonderful contributions. We are every time so happy and so grateful when you do that. You have a lot of insight from your organizations and from your experience, and the sharing makes this even more valuable. So thank you so much for doing it.
And our apologies that we were unable to get to all these questions. There are really too many to address, but they will not be forgotten, and they will be. We will reach out. And well, good data morning to everybody, and have a wonderful day or evening or night wherever you are.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.